Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hope you're having just a great week. Happy Friday. End of the week is here. The weekend is coming. Oh, I can't wait. Love the weekend. Love the football that's in store. I love this Dolphins-Colts game that is quickly approaching. I said yesterday that this game between the Colts and the Dolphins was going to be defined by big plays. Okay, the Dolphins, they are built for big plays. A lot of speed and explosiveness in that offense. Okay, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon A-Chain. Like the list just goes on with these explosive athletes and skill players that they have. Usually, that's an issue for defenses. But the Miami Dolphins just don't have the quarterback to get these explosive skill players the football. Okay, that's been their issue ever since Tua went out, right? Tua goes out against the Bills, and ever since then, the Miami Dolphins have been, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Against the Bills, they managed to score only 10 points. The following week against the Seahawks, they scored 3 points. Then on Monday Night Football, they embarrassed themselves in front of the whole country by scoring 12 points against the Titans. And then in their last game, they scored a whopping 15 points against the Patriots. Their highest scoring game this year was week 1 against the Jaguars. We all know how terrible they are. Yeah, they only managed to score 20 points. The Dolphins are averaging 12 points a game on the year. That is last in the NFL, which isn't surprising at all. They're 29th in yards per play. They're 29th in third down conversion percentage. They're 31st in red zone touchdown percentage. And they're 31st in red zone appearances per game. So in other words, they don't convert on third down. They don't move the football. They've struggled to generate big plays, even though they are as explosive as they are, and that is always a worry. They don't get in the red zone very often, and when they do, they don't score touchdowns. This is the worst offense in the NFL. That is who this Miami Dolphins team is. This is the worst offense in the NFL by far. Now, to give them some sort of hope, they are coming off a bye week, right? So they've had 2 weeks to not only prepare for the Colts, but they've had 2 weeks to tweak the offense, right? To make it a little more Tyler Huntley friendly, because that's going to be the guy who's playing quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this week. But I got to be honest, I have no faith in this Miami Dolphins offense whatsoever to have any sort of positive production. This is another week where the Indianapolis Colts defense has a chance to play well. Not because they're good defensively, but because the Dolphins are awful. Okay, when I look at the Colts, I think they've gotten incredibly lucky with their injuries. These last 3 weeks, they've been banged up. We all know that. Okay, DeForest Buckner's been out. Kwity Paye's been hurt. Tyquan Lewis is hurt. Right, that's just a few examples of the many injuries that this Colts team has gone through. They've had 13 different starters miss a game already this year. But at the same time, they're lucky that these injuries happened when they did. This is one of the easiest stretches of schedule in the National Football League. Okay, like they played the Steelers, who have struggled offensively. They played the Jaguars, who are bad. They played the Titans last week, who are bad. And this week, they play the Miami Dolphins, who were awful. Right? And so far through this easy month-long stretch, they're 2-1, and they should be 3-1 after Sunday. They have caught a bit of a break in that regard. Okay? If these injuries had happened a little bit later in the year, and the Colts were dealing with, all these guys being out against the Texans and the Vikings and the Bills, they'd go 0-3. But they are slowly getting healthier, and hopefully, when that tough stretch starts, the Colts are healthier than the teams that they're playing against. Okay, this month straight of nothing but easier opponents couldn't have happened at a better time for the Colts, given all of the injuries that they've had. especially on the defensive side of the football, because that is where most of the injuries for the Colts have occurred. With that being said, I hold the same stance as I did last week when the Colts played against the Titans. If the Colts defense plays well this week, I don't care. It will not change my opinion on how awful they are on that side of the football. Who you play against matters. It always will. Okay? Like we're seeing that with Indiana football right now. Okay? Like there's a lack of respect for Indiana football because they haven't played anybody that's any good. Okay? No one knows how good the Indiana Hoosiers are at football. And it's the same thing with this Colts defense. Like I would like to think that because they played well against the Titans that they have fixed some of the defensive issues. But I can't believe that because they played against Will Levis, who's bad. Throw in the fact that he's hurt, and it makes him even worse. Okay, like them playing well against the Titans means nothing, and it's the same thing this week. Like if they play well against Tyler Huntley, I'm going to attribute it more to how bad Huntley is than to how good the Colts defense plays. This is another game for the Colts where they can trick people into thinking that they fixed their defensive issues when in reality, we have no idea because this Dolphins offense is terrible. And if this Dolphins offense lights this Colts defense up, which I find highly unlikely, that's how bad this Dolphins offense is, then, I'll be concerned. But if the Colts defense plays well, it's not going to move the needle for me. We won't know about whether or not the Colts have fixed their issues on the defensive side of the ball until they play the Houston Texans the following week. So 8 or 9 days from now. Okay, the Colts should and are going to win this game against the Miami Dolphins easily. The Colts being favored by only 3, that number's way too low. They should win this game by more than 1 possession, no matter who plays quarterback. That's how bad this Miami Dolphins offense is. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the final score of this game was like 14-3. Wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. I highly doubt that because that's an incredibly low-scoring game. But you get my point. This Dolphins offense is terrible. And in a lot of ways, like I think this is a good game for Anthony Richardson to return in because as bad as this Dolphins offense is, the defense isn't that much better. Okay, especially on the ground. This is a game that the Colts are going to be able to rely on whoever's playing running back for them. Okay, the Dolphins are 18th in rushing yards allowed per game, and they're 23rd in yards allowed per rush. They don't defend the run well, and their best defensive lineman, and Jalen Phillips, is out for the rest of the year. Okay, the Colts should be able to run the football. Okay, and that has been kind of their calling card all year. When the Colts have been able to find some sort of success on the ground, their offense has been better, and that's not some new revelation. Every offense in the NFL is like that. When you're capable of running the football, you're going to be successful. Okay, and that'll also help Anthony Richardson in his first game back in 2 weeks. They'll have something that they can rely on to move the football. So when it's 3rd and 3, instead of dialing up the out route to Michael Pittman Jr., or Josh Downs, or whoever, let's just hand the football off and let's go pick it up on the ground. Okay, the Colts should be able to run the ball. The question is whether or not they're going to be able to throw the football. The Dolphins' pass defense has been very good. It's been one of the better ones, one of the best, simply, in the NFL. They allow the 3rd fewest passing yards per game in the NFL. They're 10th in completion percentage allowed, and they have the best 3rd down defense in the NFL. Teams are only converting 3rd downs against the Dolphins 25% of the time. All of those things, all those numbers I just gave you, point to how good this Miami Dolphins pass defense has been. The one thing they don't do in the pass game, though, is get after the quarterback. They're 26th in sacks per game. They average less than 2 sacks a game. They do not have a pass rush at all. Right? And this Colts offensive line has been one of the best in the NFL. Even with, the injury to Ryan Kelly and Will Fries being out for the year. Okay, and you would think that with enough time, the Colts have enough talent at receiver that they could find some success throwing the football, that they could find ways to get open, especially downfield, right? Because if you want to attack deep, you have to have time for your receivers to get down the field. Okay, so I like the Colts' chances of figuring out how to throw the football. I say that in part because I have a lot of belief in Shane Steichen and who he is as not only a play caller, but as a guy who can kind of scheme guys open. Okay, but with all that being said, this Dolphins secondary has had a lot of success this year, so they are going to make things tough. This should be a good test for Anthony Richardson, who was a full participant in practice once again. That is 8 practices in a row where he's been a full participant. He better play on Sunday. If he doesn't, then something very, very fishy will undoubtedly be going on. I think we see the Colts win this game. I think we see them rely a ton on the run, right? They improved to 4-3. They win 24-9 behind a dominant rushing attack, and they benefit from a bad Tyler Huntley performance.